Hello, and thank you for listening. My name is Luke Mardigian. I'm the owner of the Mardigian Agency in St. John's, Michigan. A lot of people ask me, why do you have a radio show? Well, it's because we've been able to accomplish something that most captive insurance agents aren't able to do, and that's having a scalable sales team and having a self-managing operations team. And what that's allowed us to do is grow double the size of the most captive insurance agencies in the United States. And on the show, we're able to share with you both practically and tactically how we've done that so you can implement strategies and achieve similar results in your business. And we've had this theme for 2021, no-brainers and never happens. And today's no-brainer is how you do one thing is how you do everything. And joining me for today's discussion is our special guest,
Alec Nuremberg, Director of Operations.
So how you do one thing is how you do everything. What does that even mean? It sounds really fancy.
I mean, if you're lazy, if you clean your house in a lazy manner, you're probably going to get up and go to work in a lazy manner. You're going to clean your car in a lazy manner. You're going to...
So I fought this my whole life.
Really?
Yep.
Personally?
Yep. Because what I told myself was, look, I can have a messy car and still be really good at my job.
Yeah.
You can be.
Yeah.
But
I guess I did that.
Yeah.
Up until now.
Right. And you see, like, Greg Hogshead on our team tagged me in a Facebook post of, if you have a messy desk, it's a sign of a brilliant mind.
Yeah,
right. Because
Albert Einstein, right.
He had a messy desk. I don't have an IQ of 180. So there's really no excuse for me to have a messy desk other than laziness. And I struggle with this because it was my excuse for just not effectively using time and not putting energy toward the things that were necessary.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you only have so much energy and so much time to go around. You have to prioritize. And so one of the things that I didn't prioritize was like cleaning my desk off every day or getting my truck washed. And what I found was that actually held me back from achieving a level of excellence that I could personally. And when you took over operations in the agency, you inherited the fruit of that, which was undocumented systems, things that weren't cleaned up. Why were we doing this? There was a better way to do it. And it was just me saying, look, this is what I told myself. Winning solves everything. Yeah. Winning fixes everything. I think it's a Kobe Bryant quote. So if I go out and sell enough, it doesn't really matter if we're inefficient.
Still profitable. Still winning.
And it's a way to do it. It is a way to do it. It's exhausting.
Bomb and gouge. Yeah. Golfers do it every day.
Yeah. It's exhausting. You don't get to the pros that way.
Right.
Yeah.
You can do it after you get to the pros, but you don't get there doing that.
Yes. No. Right. So, when you look at professional athletes like golfers, basketball players, professional weightlifters, CrossFitters, any Olympic athlete, they do everything the exact same way every single time. Yes. And how you do that one thing is how you have to do everything, because that discipline doesn't. So there's this book called Willpower Doesn't Work. And I read it, and I think it's true to an extent. Basically, he makes an argument. I think he's a Princeton or Stanford professor. I can't remember. It's a really good book. I recommend it. I just can't remember. He makes an argument that we only have so much self-control. Self-control is a finite resource in the human mind. He talks about how the prefrontal cortex uses glucose to fuel its decision making, and particularly if you're like running low because you haven't eaten, you start making poor decisions. You lose self control. That's why you're like, oh, I'm really hungry. Let me eat this dozen donuts. When if you had just eaten an hour before, you would have been like, I don't need a donut right now. Why would I eat a donut?
Right.
That sounds terrible. But when you're starving, you can't make that decision. So I think there's some truth to it biologically. I think there's some truth psychologically, but it is not the way you build excellence in your organization.
Correct. Yeah.
And so I'm talking to my business owners right now. The way your business does one thing is how it does everything.
Yeah.
And so this is true in both systems and dealing with culture issues.
Right.
So let's talk about systems first, because that's kind of your bag.
Yeah. So systems, I love them. Of course, they're necessary. Everybody needs them, no matter what the business is.
Where'd you learn about systems first?
The Marine Corps, for sure. Marine Corps.
They have a system or two?
It's all systems. It's only systems.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
You have checklists for the checklist.
Which is quite impressive.
Somebody
for
grabbed the checklist for the checklist.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and they're small because they're a Department of the Navy, so they're a little more agile, I guess, and it's easier to implement things because you're doing it with a smaller
underfunded,
group.
Low force.
Yeah, so you have to be efficient. You don't have a choice, right?
Setting expectations with the systems, and write a system, make sure it's going to work, go through that, audit it, question everything. I say that a lot. You have to question everything. Devil's advocate is very important when you're developing a system.
In a respectful way, right?
Yeah, of course.
I think a lot of people take that as a license to just literally
start questioning
be disrespectful.
superiors and stuff.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
You question why things are the way they are.
Right.
In an inquisitive way, like a child would, not in a like in interrogation.
Right. Yeah. or a means to undermine someone or something.
Yes.
Or something.
Yep.
Yeah. Ill intent. So we have for our commercial clients, if we have a solicitor that prospected a new commercial client, they want to get a quote done, they have to fill out the commercial eval form.
Yep.
It can be done other ways. You could put that information somewhere else in a logical way, and Shelby is going to understand it when she goes to do the quote. Yep. But that's not the system.
Yes.
To provide clarity, keep uniformity and consistency, we fill out the commercial eval form. So when that's not done, I go back to them. I say, hey, Shelby will do this quote. She'll give you the timeline on what it's going to take her, but you have to do this commercial eval form first. Yes. I know you can send it in an email. I know you could just go up to her and stand at her desk and tell her each piece of the information. That will work. But that's not how the system works.
Yes, because how you do that one thing is how you do everything. So
exactly.
So now you wrote it on a scrap piece of paper.
Right.
And this time you remembered because it's going to make you money.
Right.
And so you take the scrap piece of paper and it has most of the information on it, and you hand it to Shelby, and she oh, hey, I still need this and this, and you get it to her and we get a quote together because it's going to make you money. But then a year later you get a phone call from them and you write it on a scrap piece of paper, and then you forget that scrap piece of paper at home.
Right.
How you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yes.
And I'm preaching to myself here, okay? This is Luke Mardigian developing live.
Look in the mirror.
This is totally me all day. I'm a visionary. So for me, it's what's next, not what am I doing right now.
Right.
And that forward thinking has got us to where we're at, and it continues to grow us, and why we have a radio show, right? Yep. But at the end of the day, in order for us to effectively serve our clients and run a culture, or as you said, an atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
A climate.
Climate and culture. Yeah. Right.
A climate where things feel organized and clean, orderly, and stress-free, relatively as stress-free as it can be.
Right.
You have to do everything the same way every time.
Yes.
It's like, okay, for instance, our intro to our show, I say the same thing
every time, every show,
every time, and I stutter in the same places every time too. I've listened to myself enough that I mess up the same spots, but I do it the same way. Why? Because our listeners, for those who listen to us, it's consistent. It's the same way every time. I know what to expect, and that makes them want to come back because they have a proper expectation. And if they enjoyed it the first time they listened to it,
hopefully, they're
going to get something of similar format the next time.
Yep.
And how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah. And then with that, if they don't, just to go back on the commercial eval form, if they don't fill that out, when in the commercial quoting system, they're going to do that other places too.
Yes.
We don't have too many other eval forms, but in a similar manner, they're going to cut corners on another system. And
it's usually something that matters. We had Greg run one where he met with them and he wrote on a scrap piece of paper, did a review on a scrap piece of paper. And
review.
He wrote remove this car and didn't.
Yep.
And then something happened with that car, and we were on the risk because he didn't do. No, they want full coverage back on, or comprehensive back on.
Yeah, there was some weird details.
Yeah,
with that,
it was like a very unique one-off situation, but that's a good example. Greg, him and I are we've had this conversation a million times. Him and I both, we both struggle with keeping our poop in a group when it comes to like more complex commercial cases, because you just have so many moving pieces.
Right. So just uniformity and clarity in every piece. You can have your own swag and personality and everything as long as it's not inside of a system. How you sell, do your thing, whatever.
Systems are amoral, and it's regardless of personality.
Not
type.
Questionable. If they need to be changed, I'll change them. Come tell me they need to be changed, but they don't change unless I do it or you do it, and that's how it goes. So.
100%. It's and that's why it's there. And so the problem is that a lot of people preach systems, and we've done some shows already on what a true system is, right? True system does not involve you.
Right.
So if, Alec, you build a system and you have to constantly, you're the one who has to do it all the time, then it's not a system.
Not a system.
It has to be able to be successfully delegated and replicated
self-sustainable
for others.
Kind of,
Yes. Yeah. And, so we talked about ops, that's what you just talked about. And then we kind of touched on it a little bit. the culture side too.
Yeah.
How you do one thing is how you do everything.
Right.
Well, so we have systems in operations where, okay, yep, every time you need a commercial quote, you have to fill out the commercial eval. It's going to get screened by Alec to ensure that it's complete and accurate before it gets on Shelby's desk, so that Shelby can hit the ground running, do her job. The last thing I want to do is get in her way and slow her down and have her wait for an answer from me, because then she's going to move on to the next thing and my thing might not get done in time.
Yep.
So it's in everyone's best interest to do it the same way. Now you see culturally how that begins to shape the climate and the culture, because now the working relationship Shelby has with the sales team is much healthier because there's clear expectations, which we just did a show on setting expectations. So you can go back a couple episodes and listen to that. You have clear expectations, clear channels of communication, clear standards that everyone has to meet. And now she can just do her job. And now she's not stressed about asking you to do your job. Right. Or, hey, do you ask him this? Or should I call the client direct? That's too much to think about.
Yeah.
I want her to spend her 8 hours, 7.5 hours every day just doing her job.
Right. And 1 minute of setback time costs money. I mean, that's how I see it in my mind when writing the systems. You know, if a solicitor or a CSR has to go somewhere and ask a question because my system isn't clear, that's a problem, and that's costing us money. That's exactly the opposite of what I'm here to do. You know,
it costs everyone money, right? And it hurts our ability. It hinders our ability to serve our clients effectively because we're spending our time and resources on developing these or working through these inefficiencies rather than focusing on our efficiencies, our core competencies, our superpowers that allow us to best serve and solve problems for clients.
Do what we do. I mean, that's
so how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Right.
And so that's kind of bleeds into the culture. Well, that's really important to understand because you have personnel issues also. And so how you deal with one person is how you have to deal with everyone. So, internally we have a really unique culture that's kind of counter to corporate culture where we talk candidly. We check the temperature of our people all the time.
Daily.
Yeah. So Megan on our team had a really hard last year and a half. Yeah. And so she finally came to us about 6 months ago and said, look, I'm not contributing like I want to. We need to change my role. I can't quite play the role that I've been playing. It needs to look different. And here's the factors that are causing this.
And it wasn't that she expected that even. She was just communicating, hey, this is what's going on and I'm struggling here a bit.
Yes. And she knew she could do that because she saw how I as a leader have treated others. She knows that how consistently I've done how I did the one thing is how I do everything. Yeah. So she knew if she came to me, it wasn't going to be Haley on our team. When the job that she left, she went to her boss and said, hey, I really don't think I'm cut out for sales. I think I need a different job. And he said, well, you have two options, get out there and sell or find a different job, find a job somewhere else. Well, that's not us, right? Megan knew, she saw how we dealt with other people. And so she came to us and we found the perfect spot for her and she's flourishing. Yeah. Her production's better than it ever was. And she's working less.
Just making more money now.
Working
however
less.
That works. Yeah, right.
And adding more value to our world and to our clients' world. And it's powerful. And so how you do one thing is how you do everything. That sets the tone for your culture. So they're going to look, are you living out your core values? So I have to be very careful about negative talk on things that are frustrating internally because that positivity is our number one core value. So when I start
it bleeds to the
complaining,
team
it sets a standard that, whoa, you don't do the same. How you do one thing is how you do everything, and you complain.
Right.
So you must complain a lot. And that's literally how people draw their conclusions of you. Yep. So it's okay to complain. It's just it has to be from a positive perspective of like hey, this is what it is. This is where we're going. We identified it. We're auditing it currently, and we'll have a system to implement it within X amount of time.
Yeah. And that's not to say, there's not a time and place behind closed doors. I mean, there's been a number of occasions that we go in your office and shut the door and I just puke from the mouth. Yeah. Right.
But and that's one-on-one. That's not organizationally, right?
So there is a time and place for that. It's healthy. Do that still away from the team, but
and this is for your traditional business planning. Okay, like your day to day. This isn't
just functions.
Yes.